Okay, so you're planning a baptism reception. Big day, right. And choosing the venue, well, it can really make all the difference.
It really can. It sets the tone for the whole thing.
We've got some great source material here, really digging into that classic debate, church hall or separate venue.
Yeah, it's a big one.
And I love how the source material, it really starts off strong, all about really envisioning the atmosphere, not just the logistics, but the feeling you want to create.
Exactly, like setting the stage for a truly memorable celebration.
Because, let's be honest, a baptism reception is not just any party. It's marking a significant moment.
It is, and that's where having a clear vision from the get-go is so helpful.
Oh, absolutely.
Are you picturing something more traditional, echoing the reverence of the ceremony itself?
Yeah.
Or are you kind of leaning towards something a little more, I don't know, modern,
Right.
relaxed?
It's interesting, the source material, it really highlights how that initial vision, that feeling you're going for,
Yeah.
should actually guide all your other decisions, like a chain reaction.
Makes sense, though.
Right.
If you're drawn to a more, maybe, intimate and spiritual vibe,
Yeah.
a church hall might feel like the perfect fit.
Okay.
But if you're dreaming of something a bit more, stylish, contemporary,
Right.
separate
Yeah.
venue might be more your style.
And this is where it gets really interesting because while both options, they have their merits, the source material,
Right.
it doesn't shy away from the practicalities either.
Nope.
Like, how many people are we talking about here?
Exactly.
Because that guest list, it can really make or break your venue choice.
Oh, it's so true. You don't want to be squeezing people in like sardines.
No.
Especially if you've got a big, lively family to accommodate.
And that's where church halls, they can be great.
Yeah.
They're often designed for those larger gatherings.
Yeah.
But as the source material points out, it's always wise to, double check the actual capacity.
Oh, for sure.
Just to be safe.
Just to be safe. And if you're worried about outgrowing the space, separate venues often have more flexibility.
They do.
You can find anything from cozy nooks to grand ballrooms these days. Really depends on the size, the style of your celebration.
But it's not just about cramming in as many people as possible, right? The source material, it made me think about the flow of the event.
Huh?
Do you want people to be able to move around freely, mingle comfortably? That's such a good point. Because a crowded church hall, it might have that, cozy, bustling energy.
Yeah.
Or it could end up feeling cramped and chaotic.
Yeah.
And nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. So you've got your vision. You're finalizing that guest list. Now comes the inevitable question of budget.
Always.
And let's be real, it's a big one.
It always is. But I think the source material offers some really helpful guidance here.
All right.
It acknowledges that for many people, keeping costs down is a priority.
Right.
And in those cases, a church hall can be a real lifesaver.
Absolutely. They're often significantly more affordable than separate venues. And many even offer discounts for church members, which is a nice bonus.
Which is very nice.
But, and this is where things get a little more nuanced, the source material also reminds us that you'll likely be responsible for arranging catering, decor.
Yeah. And any additional services yourself. And those costs can certainly add up if you're not careful.
Oh, they can get away from you.
They can.
With separate venues, you often have the option to bundle those services into a single package.
Right.
It can be a bit pricier up front, but it also saves you a lot of time, potential headaches,
Oh, for sure.
peace of mind.
It's a classic trade-off. Convenience versus cost.
Exactly.
And the best choice really depends on your individual priorities.
Absolutely.
And how much you're willing to take on yourself. And speaking of taking things on yourself, let's talk food.
Oh, yeah, the food situation.
Because the source material, it definitely does not shy away from that either.
Big one,
You're right. It can be a major deciding factor.
for sure. For sure.
What's a celebration without some delicious food? Right.
Yeah,
To bring everybody together.
exactly.
And the source material points out that with church halls, you have the freedom
Yeah,
and, the responsibility
right,
to handle the catering yourself.
right.
Which, if you're a whiz in the kitchen or have a go-to caterer you love, that's fantastic.
Yeah, if you're so inclined.
But for those of us who, consider boiling water a culinary achievement,
Right.
it can feel a little daunting.
Yeah, that's where those separate venues, I think, they have an edge.
They do.
Many of them offer in-house catering options, so
They take that off your plate entirely.
they do. Yeah, they can take care of it.
That peace of mind is definitely worth considering.
Yeah.
But for those who love to get creative, especially with a personal touch, the source material highlights how DIY can really shine when it comes to decorations
Yeah,
and just the overall vibe.
for sure.
Separate venues, they often give you more flexibility in terms of decor.
Uh-huh.
You can go all out with themes,
Oh,
color schemes,
right.
really personalize the space.
It's true. I'm already picturing like those adorable photo booths,
Right.
like the props and the backdrops. And
But even without going all out, the source material made me realize how important those little details are.
they are. It's so true.
Those personal touches, they make all the difference.
All in the details. And while separate venues, they might offer more freedom in some ways, the source material makes a good point that you can still create a really warm, inviting atmosphere in a church hall.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
It's more about using what you have creatively,
Exactly.
maybe incorporating some family photos,
Yeah.
meaningful decorations,
Right.
or, even setting up a little craft station for the kids, something like that.
Exactly. Just like infuse the space with those touches.
Exactly. It's about reflecting the spirit of the occasion.
Yes.
And on that note, the source material brings up something so crucial, something that should be top of mind for any event planner: accessibility.
Oh, so important.
It's easy to get, I think, caught up in all the other details, but ensuring that everyone feels comfortable and included, that's paramount.
It is. It is. It's so important.
And that means thinking about guests of all ages and abilities.
Yes.
The source material, it specifically mentions elderly relatives or those with, mobility needs.
Mm-hmm.
Are there ramps for easy access? Are the restrooms equipped for those with disabilities?
Right.
Is parking convenient and accessible?
Right. All good questions to ask.
These are all such important questions to ask when you're comparing venues, because it's those little considerations that can make a world of difference.
They can. They can for your guests. That's exactly right.
They really can. It's those small details, I think, that can really make or break an event.
They can.
And speaking of those thoughtful touches, this source material, it kind of nudged me to think about something that, honestly, I hadn't even considered before.
Oh, okay.
The symbolism of the location itself. Ah, interesting.
It's not just about finding like a pretty space, right?
Right.
It's about the meaning behind it.
I see where you're going with this.
Does holding the reception at the church, the same place where the baptism took place,
Yeah.
does that add like a layer of significance for you, for your family?
That's a great point. It's an interesting question to consider.
It is.
Because on one hand, you've got, the excitement and the flexibility of a separate venue. But on the other, there's something to be said for keeping the celebration within the heart of the community,
Yeah,
where this spiritual milestone is being celebrated.
it's true. It's like you're weaving together like the sacred and the celebratory.
I love that.
It reminds us it's more than just logistics.
Exactly. It's about what feels most meaningful
Exactly.
to you.
To you. It's about finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Where, practicality meets that heartfelt sentiment.
Couldn't have said it better myself. As we wrap up this deep dive into the church hall versus separate venue debate, I think the message is clear.
Yeah.
There's no one-size-fits-all.
There never is.
Right. But by carefully considering, your vision, your priorities,
Yeah.
and even the symbolism of the location,
Right.
you can create a truly memorable and meaningful celebration.
And that's what it's all about, right? Creating a celebration that reflects the joy, the significance of this special occasion.
Absolutely. Whether you find yourself drawn to the, familiar comfort of a church hall or the maybe exciting possibilities of a separate venue, I think this deep dive has given you all the tools you need
It really has.
to make the best decision for you. So relax, enjoy the process,
That's right.
and savor this special time with your loved ones.
Happy celebrating.